you're not supposed to regulate yourself through everything. Being regulated does not mean that you are calm all the time. It doesn't mean that you don't feel anything. It simply means that you know how to come back to yourself. You know when you're dysregulated, and you then spot that and have the tools and capacity to get back to a state where you can hear yourself, where you can operate yourself instead of running on this autopilot of flight and fright, or fawn perhaps, which doesn't get you anywhere decent. And for a lot of us, particularly as women, we've been taught to be palatable. In fact, I feel like we've been practicing regulation as a way to suppress and be more palatable. And then we reach mid-30s or 40s, and suddenly we have all of these chronic illnesses. Gosh dang, I wonder why. So being regulated doesn't mean that you don't lose your cool. Being regulated doesn't mean that you're happy all the time. Being regulated doesn't mean that you just allow other people to treat you however they want and cross all of your boundaries, and you just take it because it's better than causing a scene. No. That might look regulated from an external point of view because that person isn't losing their cool. They're not setting firm boundaries. They're not doing any of those things. So they look as though they are regulated. But I can almost guarantee that internally there is a lot going on for that person. And that's what we don't want to do. That's actually the thing that I want to move you away from, is this idea that calm people are just always calm and they're always regulated and la-di-da. Yeah, nah. Not the case. So instead, what I will really want to offer to you is the fact that regulating yourself simply means that you step into a power of being in control of yourself, so that you can hear your thoughts, so that you can choose how you want to respond and react. So how do you get to this point? Because for some of us, it is well out of sight. It's like down the horizon line, and we're trying, but we don't know how. The first thing I really want to speak to is the fact that you cannot fight yourself within your mind against yourself. So say, for example, you don't want to lose it at your partner again because they haven't helped around the house again and they've been playing up with the kids, and you feel alone and isolated, and now you're pushing an uphill battle because your spouse is doing the exact opposite thing that you've been trying to get into the house. Okay, that's a reality for most of us, right? At some point or another during motherhood. And in that moment, you might want to absolutely lose it with your partner, which is valid. That's fair because they're going off, but you're trying not to. So you're in your head, right? And you're like, don't yell at them. Don't yell at them. Don't be frustrated with them. Don't give them an attitude. Just hold it together. Just pretend that everything's fine. Take a deep breath. Just stay calm, right? And you're running this catalog of self-talk in your head. But all you're doing is you're still, with every word, every sentence that you've said, you're still basically fighting yourself against that exact thing. How can I do this as a visual? So you've got my microphone, because that's not moving. This is the point of resistance that you don't want to be looking at. This is the point of, I don't want to yell at my partner. I don't want to lose my cool, right? And you're going, don't yell at them. But that means that your brain hears yell at them. You say, don't lose your cool at them. Your brain hears lose your cool at them, because you're still fighting the exact opposite thing. So how do you get out of that event? Essentially, you want to go like this and you want to take a different path, yeah? But you can't mind battle your way out. Don't have that drink, don't have that drink, don't have that drink, don't have that drink. Guess what your brain hears? Have that drink, have that drink. Your brain actually doesn't hear the don't. And that's really, really, really important. So the way that I've taught myself and the way that I teach my clients is we find a detour. We're we need to have a break in the system, because otherwise we're just feeding that same thread line, and it's mentally exhausting and taxing, which means that then eventually our willpower comes down, and we do that thing anyway because we've emotionally drained ourselves more by trying to fight ourselves in not doing it. Kind of counterintuitive. So your break might be the fact that you go outside and you take a deep breath for a moment. maybe you go outside and you find some long grass because the grass hasn't been mowed, and you rip it up in your hands and you just tear it apart. There's a regulation activity, right? Maybe it's the fact that you go outside and you jump and you shake your arms about, and maybe you take a deep breath in and go, and you make your lips go like that. I don't know what to call that. Raspberries, is that what it's called? Doing something to expel the frustration. Maybe it's getting a pillow and hitting it on the bed or punching the couch. Something to release that within you, because that will then help your nervous system to re-regulate, because you've expelled the excess energy, but you've also taken an action in between what you would normally do. So you've had the thought, you've tried to reroute it, which means that you're still in the same thought, but then you've gone, oh, I've gone outside and I've ripped up some grass. That's different. Now you're a step further away from losing it at your spouse. And this is just the example that we're talking about. So whenever I say that, I want you to think of whatever it is that you're trying to actively change within your life. And when you do that, it makes it a lot easier when you have that breakaway. The other thing that you can do is acknowledge how you're feeling. Shock horror. So how do you do that? I say it like this. So if it was me, my partner did something that really frustrated me, right? I would then, in my mind, and I normally EFT this out because I find tapping on these body points helps me to regulate more. I'm going to do the points now while I'm going through what I would do if this was me. Tapping on the karate chop point. Even though I'm feeling really frustrated right now, I know that feeling frustrated is a perfectly valid response for what's happening right now. Top of the head. Even though I'm feeling frustrated right now, that's a totally valid response. And it's okay for me to feel frustrated. Corner of your eye. I feel really frustrated right now, and that's okay for me to feel frustrated. I feel really freaking frustrated right now, and that's okay. Even though I'm feeling frustrated right now, I'm doing my best to stay regulated. Top of your lip. I am feeling really frustrated right now, and that's okay. I know that I'm trying my best to re-regulate. I'm starting to feel a little bit calmer, even though I'm still frustrated. And then that makes me feel better. Noticing what's happening in my system. That's what I'm doing right now. Under your collarbone. Even though I'm feeling really frustrated at my partner right now, I know that I can come back to myself and regulate again. I know that it's okay to be frustrated. Under your armpit, kind of like bra line height. I'm feeling really frustrated at my partner right now, and it's okay for me to feel frustrated. And then you'd go back to your karate chop point. Even though I'm feeling really frustrated right now, I'm starting to feel calmer by just coming back to myself and acknowledging. And it's okay for me to feel frustrated right now. In the time that it took me to do that, maybe 30 to 60 seconds, it's also detoured my brain from going from battling it to acknowledging it, and that's the detour path. And because I was then EFT tapping, I've also gotten more into my body. I'm more aware of what's happening physically inside of me. So they're two things that you can do, but really the idea is to choose a detour path. So whatever your frustration thing is right now, I want you to think of just one activity that you can do. So if you can go outside, I want you to do that. If you can shake your hands and body out, do that. If you can go and hit the pillow against the bed or punch the couch, go and do that. If you know how to EFT tap and you know what the points are, I want you to practice that and just acknowledging like, yeah, hey, I'm feeling really frustrated right now. I'm feeling really angry right now, whatever it may be. And take yourself through that sequence. That is your detour. Maybe it's ripping up a piece of paper. Maybe it's ripping up some grass. And in this moment right now, choose one of those activities that you're going to utilize the next time that you start to feel like you're going to lose it. Because the biggest practice of all is becoming self-aware enough to catch yourself before that moment happens, before you have the explosion, before you lose your cool. And it's not always possible. But let's say you lose your cool and then you catch it in the middle of losing your cool, right? Go and use your regulation activity then. Don't keep playing it out like you normally would. Step away from it. You're allowed to reroute yourself at any given moment in time. Any given moment in time. And I've done this literally halfway through having like a wah! And then being like, okay, this ain't working for anyone. I'm feeling worse. They're now feeling worse. I'm going to go away and do some kind of activity, and then I come back. That is how we get to this state of self-regulation. And then it also means that we're processing it through our bodies so we don't get to mid-30s, mid-40s, mid-50s and have all of these chronic illnesses. Because we're not doing that anymore. And plus, most of our doctors that we're going to have by the time that we're older and these chronic illnesses have really kicked in, they're all being taught by ChatGPT. That's where they're doing their learning. So you need to learn how to process emotions within your physical body so that you don't get sick. Because really the best case right now is for you to learn how to look after yourself. And then with that, then your children learn how to regulate, because co-regulation isn't just something that you do together. It is something that you do and they physiologically feel. That's in the documentation, on all of the documentation about co-regulation. It is the adult, the grown-up that is regulated, and the child feels and experiences that. It's not even necessarily that they see that. It is that like an energetic signal almost that they pick up. This has been studied. So if you want to create a calmer household, it starts with you having some tools. And I'm not saying you need to be perfect. I am far, far from perfect. But have I grown a lot? Yes. And what I've also found is it was kind of like this. It was really slow, right? And I would make like a little bit of growth and then I'd feel like I went back down and then I'd make a little bit of growth. And eventually I started making a bit more growth. And now it's up like this. It's almost like it's finally compounding. Finally. And I am saying this years into doing it. But it has only become the forefront of my mind probably the last year or two. So let's say the last 2 years, I have been really focused on regulation. And within that time frame, I've now started to notice moments where I would have lost my cool and instead I don't. I've noticed moments within my children where they would have lost their cool and instead they haven't. We are all learning to regulate together, and that's really the goal here. You are not learning regulation so that you can be more palatable to others. You're not learning regulation so that you learn how to suppress and be more quiet for other people. Regulation is taking yourself through the steps that you need to get back to a state of calm so that you can then make a conscious choice, because then you can hear yourself and how you want to react and how you want to respond so that you don't get sick at the end of the day. That is the most crucial thing here. So to finish today's podcast episode, we're going to practice the breath in. So we're going to breathe in through our nose and it's a sharp inhale. And if you're a visualization kind of girly, if you can see things, if you like having that visual sensory element, which I love personally, I feel like it makes it more tangible. And I'm also, because I do hypnotherapy, I know the power of imagination. And then when you merge that with movement, it becomes a more cellular memory, like your body remembers. You know the book, The Body Keeps the Score? That's essentially written around the fact that when you do an action or something happens to you, your body on a cellular level remembers it. But then when we do hypnotherapy, or even sports players, when they are going up for a big game, they will utilize hypnotherapy or visualization to hit the ball or get the goal or whatever it is for them, because it has a huge increase on their goal, like on achieving their goal. And the reason for that is there's muscle memory from that visualization. So taking a deep breath in, pulling yourself back, and maybe you see it as the color of self-love, whatever that is for you today. And you breathe it in pulling it in. And then as you exhale, I want you to visualize it coming down through your throat, your chest, your heart space, your lungs, all the way down through your stomach, all the way down into your pelvis. And then we're going to do that again. Deep breath in, pulling yourself back in, seeing that color of love, and then exhaling, feeling as it sinks down through your body, down into every cell and organ, every muscle. And then another deep breath in, pulling yourself all the way in, even deeper, and then exhaling, breathing out, feeling and seeing as that light travels all the way down through your body. And the more that you practice these self-connection moments, the easier it is for you to self-regulate and choose healthier strategies and tools in moments of dysregulation. Basically, you want to build up your capacity or your moments where you connect to yourself, so that in moments where you feel frustrated or overwhelmed, or the kids yelling or your partner's annoying you, then you remember and you're able to access that feeling. You're able to access that sensory point more easily, bring yourself back in, and then make a conscious choice. That is basically the cycle, the system that I'm trying to ingrain here on the internet, so that we can live in a world that knows how to process emotions, uses visualization and movement, so that we can all be healthier and happier and co-regulate together, because that earth just sounds like a much better place to be in. So thank you for being here. Thank you for following along. If you've got any questions, comments, anything like that, please let me know down below. If there's anything you really enjoyed, please hit like or subscribe. Even share it to a friend if you're like, yeah, look, they could really use this. There's some helpful points in there. If there's anything that you want to know more about, this is a really key one. If there's anything that you want to know more about, or if there's situations going on for you that you are comfortable in sharing with me, whether it's a comment, whether it's a personal DM, probably more so through Instagram. You can find me at Letitia Teakle on Instagram. Then I have something to riff off. Then I have something to directly speak to that's going to help you. And just like they say in school, if one person has a question or a problem, the likelihood is there is more of you. We are not alone in this. We live in a very dysregulated world, and parenting is harder than I feel like it's probably ever been for any generation in many aspects. So let me know, so that I can keep talking and keep helping and keep finding new strategies and tools that help you to get to the person or the version of you that you're wanting to be.